vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye
Welcome back to the program. Tonight we're talking about Kenya's youth population that is a great asset, but also providing a bit of a challenge when it comes to employment. And so I want to talk about Next Gen KE, which is a program by UNDP Kenya, the government of Kenya, and also in partnership with the private sector. Dr. Jean-Luc Stallon, who's the resident representative of UNDP Kenya, joins me now to talk about this program. Thank you very much for making the time for us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Good. So we'll talk about the program in a minute, but first, maybe to just understand the scale of the problem. So probably around 1 million young people entering the labor market every year here in the country, but still a fraction struggling to secure formal employment. What do you believe is the single biggest reason for Kenya continuing to struggle with placing its young people in the workforce?
Yeah, thank you, Yvonne. I think it's very important in this conversation that we start by setting the context and what I will call the binding factors around the issue of youth. Number one, of course, is the demography. And this is across Africa. But if you take Kenya, you have about 75% of the population that under 75 years old.
Under 35
so,
years.
Under 35 years old. Yeah. So there's really a big portion of the population that are young people. Number two, unemployment. So you have this massive population that are young, but there is not enough employment for them. So you've been talking about the 1 million people entering the job market every year, and only 200,000 jobs are available. Actually, I look at the statistic, and the Kenya Bureau for Statistics issued that in 2025, so last year, there was about 822,000 jobs created in Kenya, which looks big. But if you scrutinize that number, you then find out that about 85% of those jobs are actually in the informal sector. And then the last one, which I will really call a binding constraint, is this whole issue around the offer and the demand. In terms of the offer, I must say that Kenya is well placed in Africa, and particularly in this East African region. The level of education in Kenya is quite good if you compare to other countries. There is 83 accredited universities in Kenya. There is 34 national polytechnics, and there is a huge, quite a significant number of VTCs and TVETs. So the offer, one can say that there is quite a significant investment on education. But the issue now is on the demand side. So the economy, the private sector, do not create enough employment. So you have, in a way, you have a mismatch between the investment that is made on spending money to educate people, and then those people don't become productive asset for the economy. So that mismatch is what I call the issue between the offer and the demand.
Yeah, and that's an interesting place to find ourselves with, right? Both realities existing at the same time.
Yes.
Graduates saying they can't find work, and you've got people, in businesses who are saying they can't find the talent that they need. That's an interesting set of realities to exist at the same time.
Yes, so that's exactly where we place this the program that UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, has been working on. In partnership, of course, with the government of Kenya, but also with the private sector, in particular with KEPSA, as the umbrella organization for private sector. So if you look here in Kenya, there are already a number of initiatives that exist for addressing the issue of unemployment. for youth. One, of course, is a program that started a few years back on placing young people in the public sector. But you know, public sector can take as much as it can. I mean, it's not where, usually it's not where there is a lot of creation for jobs. Then there is these new initiatives that is focusing on entrepreneurship, so how to make young people create their own activities, their own jobs, which is called Nyota. Now, what we are looking at as UNDP is how we can accelerate the placement of young people in the private sector. Because as you know, Yvonne, the issue of job, it's really with the private sector. Private sector is the engine of the economy, is the engine of creating jobs. So we're looking at a program of placing young people in the private sector.
So walk us through this program for a recent graduate who's watching this interview tonight. What exactly happens from the moment they apply? But just tell us a little bit about, you've said it's placement in private sector, but walk us through it.
Yeah, so the mechanics of it is quite simple. On one hand, we have all these young people that are graduated at different level. There are those who are masters and above, those who are more like college, and there's those who are certificates. Those are the usual categories here in Kenya. So we will establish a platform through which all these young people can apply. But of course, there will be a certain level of criteria of excellence, of how they have performed and so forth, and they will be selected. Then there will be another platform, this one developed more in collaboration with KEPSA, which now looks at how to match those profiles with the companies. Okay, and I must say that so far the conversation that I've been having with the private sector is quite encouraging. We had a meeting with about 50 CEOs, some of the most prominent CEOs here in Kenya, and they're all willing to see how they can absorb these young people into their companies. So the mechanics of it is that we have the selection and the placement. Now, we place them for 1 year in those companies. And they will be, during the placement, they will be receiving a stipend. It's not a salary. And that's a way of also of encouraging the company to take them on board. Because you see, one of the problems that we have here in Kenya is that some of these young people, when they apply for a job, the first question they ask for is, how many years of experience do you have? But these people have never worked before. So the idea really is that to give them that opportunity to put one step into the company, and during that 1 year they will be receiving a stipend as also a support to them. You know, they have to take the matatu in the morning, they have to eat something for lunch, so they will be receiving a stipend which will be calculated around the minimum wage here in Kenya, so which is about between 20,000 to 25,000 shilling. And that is a stipend they receive every month. And during that 1 year program, we will not leave these youth alone. So they are placed into the company, and they will be having mentorship from the program to kind of guide them their journey in the company. But also there will be some training that they need to take online during that placement, and mandatory training. One of them, of course, is on artificial intelligence, leadership, and so forth. There's 5 training that they will be taking. The whole idea, and that is really very important to explain, the whole idea is that after 1 year, we want to make the company believe that these young people have been placed, I mean, 1 or I don't know how many they can take, but to see that they have become productive asset for their business. because the idea is really that at the end they get the job. Now, this is not the first time that UNDP is conducting this kind of a program. We have had similar experience in other countries, particularly Nigeria, which is also one of the big economy on the continent. And I must say that the returning rate, it's quite high. In Nigeria, we have quite a good returning rate. But we also understand that some of these youth will not, all of them will not be absorbed, will not get a contract. So there's a double aim for this program. One is to get a job, but even those who don't get the job, at least they get a profile. They get an exposure. They get an experience that which now they can use for applying to other places.
For the future.
Yes.
How many young people are you targeting in this program, perhaps as a whole and maybe in the first phase?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So we are starting with our own resources as UNDP, what we call seed funding. You see, UNDP as a development agency, our role is catalytic. It's not to fund because we don't have enough resources. So with the funding that we have now available, we want to start with a batch of 500. But we have advanced discussion and conversation with the government for them to invest also, because the government, I must say, recognizes that this is a priority. It's a development priority for the country to find a solution for youth. So I have had encouraging discussion with Treasury, with different ministers, and I think if the government puts in more money, of course, then we can scale up. And we can move up to 15,000, 20,000, 100,000. It depends on the availability of the resources, because, as I said, there is a stipend that needs to be paid at the end of each month, so that has a cost.
Okay, and we'll come back and talk about, you know, the cost and who's responsible for what in this program. So you say initially 500. What's the goal or the target, you know, that you're looking at eventually?
Yeah, you mean the overall?
Overall.
Yeah, I think something between 50,000 to 100,000 will be a decent number.
All right. And what sectors, you know, are you looking at specifically, and do you think that are likely to absorb the highest number of participants?
Very good. Now, all sectors included. We don't have preferences on sectors, because when the platform is open, every young person who is graduated, who has a certificate or who has a diploma can apply, whether it's in the agriculture sector, in the health sector, in business sector, in insurance, in banking, whatever. But the most important thing also to say that this will not be only for the capital. It will not be only for Nairobi. It has to be also accessible to people that are in Nakuru, in Kisumu, in Mombasa, I mean, in different places of the country. So the idea is more like to filter based on, you know, the merit that this graduated have, because you will want to give the one that have performed the best at school a better chance, you know. But again, we have also to be mindful of issues of gender, so to have some, you know, to make sure that we have a gender balance, and also, like I said, you know, urban and rural area.
What makes this initiative perhaps different from others that we've seen? You already mentioned some of those. And there's perhaps Kenyans who would say we've seen initiative after initiative, giving young people entrepreneurial skills, mentorship, in some cases funding to start a business in the form of a loan or a grant. How different would you say Next Gen KE will be different from other similar initiatives we've seen in the country?
Yeah, I think what is new here is that it's a concrete way to put people, to put young people in a position of getting a job. Like I said, there's been a lot of effort on the offer, on the training. I mean, you know, there's so many vocational training. Many people have been trained in different skills and so forth. But the issue is get them a job. So what I think is the add value of this program is that there's a concrete proposition to put these people now in a company, and that company can absorb them. I give you an example. We've just signed a few weeks ago a contract with CRBC, you know, the Chinese Roads and Bridges Corporation. That's a big company, right? And we also have advanced discussion with some other companies, Safaricom and others. Now, this kind of company can absorb up to 500 and 1,000 people. So you see, there's really a possibility to give opportunity to many youth in companies that are running a good business, and then to make these young people, and that's a very important point, to make them a productive asset so they can contribute actually to the economic development of the country.
Yeah, and it's very clear that this program relies significantly on partnerships with the private sector, as they will be the ones who are taking up these young people for the 1 year internship. So what sort of commitments have employers, private sector actually made to this initiative?
Yes. So first of all, it's not only a matter of resources. I think anyone will understand that contributing to resolving the issue of youth employment is also a way of contributing to the stability, contributing to de-risking the environment of business. I mean, you take an example of countries that have gone through strong demonstrations of youth. There are many that have gone through that, including Kenya.
Including here, yeah.
These have huge impact on the economy and on the private sector. So the idea, that's number one. Number one is that I have found with the CEOs and the people in the private sector that I've interacted with, that they recognize that this is an issue to be addressed. So that's a good news. Number two now is also to see how themselves can contribute in putting funding into the program. So, for example, again, CRBC, not only they will absorb 1,000 youth, but they have committed 75 million shilling into the program. So if we have a number of these significant company that are willing to invest their own funding, that means that they are convinced that they should contribute to the program.
Yeah, and in what way, beyond, committing to a specific number, also committing an amount of money, beyond just simply hosting the interns, are they also helping shape the training, the mentorship components of this? What's the level of engagement of those in the private sector?
Yes, absolutely, because, every company has its own way of running the business, it has its own specificity, it has its own activities. So there will be, of course, an element of, each company to tailor a particular way of providing mentorship to these young people when they are placed into their company, and to accompany them. I mean, really, I think the most important thing is that after the 1 year placement, they don't see this as a burden. They see this as an opportunity because they have had someone, he or she, who has been there, who has worked with them, and at the end, who is now contributing to the work of the company, contributing to the business of the company. That's really the spirit of this placement.
Yeah, and in line with that, many young people become skeptical of internships because one internship often leads to another internship rather than formal employment. And I know you talked about this, at the beginning, but how do you ensure that this program does not simply become another temporary holding space for the young people? Perhaps to what extent can businesses in the private sector make some type of commitment in that regard? They might not talk about, maybe give some commitment that there will be at least a certain percentage of those, should they, of course, do well during the 1 year, that this becomes permanent, because youth are very skeptical of one internship after another.
Yes, but Yvonne, there's two ways of looking at this. You can look at the glass half empty or half full. Right now, there's not such a program in place. So let's look at the glass half full. And let's hope that by creating this dynamic of placing youth into these companies, we talked about a number like 50,000, 100,000. This is quite massive. So that itself will create a dynamic. I want to be optimistic and believe that such an initiative cannot result into one internship after the other. I want to believe that this can result into at least a quite significant returning rate from this company of giving an actual job to these young people. And like I said, not all of them will get a job. We have to be very realistic about it. But at least they will get a CV. They will get an experience, you know? If you take someone here in Citizen TV for 1 year and you train them, you don't want to just let them go. You will find that these people have been working, they have been an add value to your work, and then most probably, but if you don't take them, they may probably apply to another channel that is doing the same work and find a job, because at least they have a profile. Because one of the things that I've really find quite hard when I talk to this, because I've spoken to a lot of young people, is when they tell you that they have been applying for jobs and ask for 3 and 5 years of experience just after they left university. So obviously they have not had that chance to work. So I think that the first aim of this program is really to build the profile, to give the experience, the exposure to these young people to be able to enter the job market.
Okay, and so that's the role of the private sector. Let's talk about the role of UNDP and of the government of Kenya. So, and otherwise into this program?
Yes, so this program has basically, I will say, 3 streams of funding. One is our own funding that we put there, which is catalytic. It's not much money, but it allows to start. The second one is from the government. We believe that through the government development financing, meaning the government tapping into its own fiscal space to invest in a program that they consider as a priority for their development, they should put in some funding.
Have they made a commitment to this?
I can say that we have had advanced discussion, positive feedback, but we have not yet signed. So I cannot say it's done. But, right. But really very encouraging discussion so far.
And UNDP has also confirmed funding, and that funding, at least on your part,
our funding is not only is confirmed, is on the bank account, waiting now to start the pilot that I spoke about, right. the 500.
Okay.
But I strongly believe that the government will also come in with its own funding. And then, like I said, we also need, and that's the third stream of funding, to now get also the private sector, the foundations, to also come in and in the program. So if we have you know, all these possibilities of resource mobilization, then we can get that critical mass of resources that will allow to get the numbers that I was talking about, you know, the 50 or the 100,000.
Yes. So why should taxpayers, you know, who would be funding this through the government of Kenya, donors, development partners, believe this is a worthwhile investment?
Oh, there are many reasons. The number one is really, like I said, you keep investing on education, and then these people don't get a job, so that has an implication on the resources that you have spent. There's a lack of opportunity, and there's a value that you are losing into your economy if you don't make a good use of these people. So this is very important, number one. Number two, there are consequences of unemployment. You get young people to be involved in activities that are related to crime, that are related to so many, and you spend money correcting those issues, okay? And the third one, like I was saying before, it's a way of de-risking the environment of business to give an opportunity to these young people. What most of the African young people are asking for is a fair share of opportunity. They want to be part of the equation. So I sincerely believe that in Africa, if I was to, if you ask me the question, what I consider will be one of the most priority in terms of development is to address the issue of the youth employment.
Yeah. What would be the metrics of success? Say 1 year into the program, 3 years into it, how will you measure whether this program has worked?
I will measure the success, one, if there is a high returning rate, and second, if those that have gone through this program are actually getting a job, even if they apply to a different company to which they were placed in.
If, you know, after a couple of years, you find that the program isn't delivering meaningful employment in the way it was intended, what mechanisms exist in your plan to adjust or, you know, redesign it?
It's a bit too early to say that. I will want first us to implement this pilot phase, and of course, you know, that will inform us on some of the shortcomings. There is always that possibility, and then we can adjust. But the formula has worked in other countries. There is no reason why it cannot work in Kenya.
And what's the duration of the program?
The initial duration is 3 years.
3 years.
And our partner, like I said, is KEPSA.
Yeah.
You know, KEPSA has quite a strong network with private companies. So through them, it will really facilitate that placement into the companies. I was looking at the numbers recently with my team. They have 500 members of their network, but up to, 500,000. So that's really, and you know, one of the specificity of this country, Kenya, and all Kenyans should be proud about it, is that the economy is really run by the private sector. So by targeting the private sector to absorb this youth, to be part of that equation of resolving the issue of youth employment, I think we have there a solution which is workable and which can be really something that can make a difference.
Yeah, now, you know, Kenyans watching, young people particularly, will be asking, when does this start? It's a 3-year program. They're already hearing about, you know, how to apply, which sectors are targeted, which brackets of youth. And so the next big question is when? When does this begin?
You know, I was expecting that you will ask me that question.
Yeah.
And it's a legitimate question. This is not just about theory.
Yeah.
This is about also, you know, something tangible. So right now we are finalizing the work of this platform because we want to make sure that we have everything in place so that if I go and apply, the whole process will run through. It's not an easy task. I believe that in about 2 months we will be ready to start, at least, let me be precise on this, at least on the 500 pilot placement.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what they, I'm sure, would like to see. I mean, you've been in the development space for quite some time, and you know, I was seeing that you've also authored a book, Elitist Growth. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, this, okay. It's actually quite related to the issue that we are discussing, because my book on the political economy of elitist growth is actually a way of looking at the inequalities. And you know, inequalities is something that has been so, I mean, there have been so many books and so much writing about it. But I take a particular angle to look at how the elites always manages to capture the dividend of growth. That's the angle that I'm taking in the book. And maybe just to give you 2 examples, 2 broad statistics. One is the fact that if you look at from 2020, we are in 2026, right? From 2020, the 1% richest people of this world, now we're talking about the world, we're not talking about Kenya, have captured 2/3 of the wealth that has been produced. So in terms of income, that's a huge inequality. And my work is a bit to analyze what are the underlying issues behind that. The second example I can give, because inequality is not only about income, it's also about, you know, assets. So one of the numbers that I like giving is the fact that the 10% biggest owners of land, meaning people who are exploiting more than 50 hectares of land, they actually produced on 75% of arable land in the world. So again, a big inequality. So the book is really focused on understanding the underlying ways of what I call the elite can manage to capture the dividend of growth and to maintain their dominance on the economy.
Yeah, and so, with that thinking, relating that to a program like this one, Next Gen, can a program like this one really make a meaningful dent in the challenge? Or do we also need deeper economic reforms to ensure that programs like these aren't very much needed in the future, because the economy is fair, it's equitable to everybody, and allows everyone the opportunities that they deserve?
Yeah, first, let's say globally, one can say that business people will tend to make more money with minimum expenses. So by encouraging for more absorption of unemployed young people, it's also a way of giving that a better access to opportunities. So it's a better way of sharing the prosperity, if I can put it that way. So by doing that, you are somehow addressing one aspect of the inequalities. And then what was the second aspect?
Deeper economic reforms, perhaps,
yes,
to sort out these issues so that we don't have situations like the ones we find ourselves in.
Absolutely. And another aspect, the reform that you're talking about is that we should also think, this is something we need to explore even in the course of the implementation of this program, that those companies that are embarking into this kind of program can also somehow receive some incentives, fiscal incentives from the fact that they are contributing to addressing an issue like this.
Right, yeah. As we close, I want you to speak to thousands of young Kenyans tonight who've got degrees, who've got diplomas, who've got certificates and skills. These young people have been told and have done everything that they were told to do. They've worked hard, they've gone to school, they've kept their head down, they've gotten the certifications that they require, yet they still cannot find a pathway into work. What's your message to them tonight as we close this discussion?
Well, my message to them is, number one, keep studying, keep upscaling your skills, be serious in what you are doing, because that's the number one condition for you to be considered for the next step. And then, of course, is that don't lose hope and remain focused. There will be opportunities. I believe this program offers a meager opportunity to only few of them. Let's be realistic. But at least, if you're among the best, if you made all of those efforts in investing into your education, remaining focused, then you have a better chance to be inserted and to get an opportunity.
Indeed. And we look forward to the start of Next Gen KE, which you said would be in the next few weeks?
Yeah. Maybe about 2 months.
Okay,
yes.
All right. Okay, I'm sure Kenyans are looking forward to that one. Next Gen KE, solving the crisis of youth employment, placing young people in paid internships for a 12-month period. A project by UNDP Kenya, the government of Kenya, and the private sector led by KEPSA, as well as other partners. We will be looking out for this program and seeing how it goes day to day, month to month.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Karibu sana, and thank you for being with us here.
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako. Tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye
kutoka vijijini, mijini hadi jijini. Hii ni Candid Talk Live.
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye
kutoka vijijini, mijini hadi jijini. Hii ni Candid Talk Live.